In the previous video, we got our very first taste of React. We imported the React and the React DOM libraries directly in our index.html page using script tags. While this worked fine for our simple example, it is not the best strategy when building production-grade applications. You see, modern JavaScript apps are modular. This means they're made up of several files, including code which is broken down into easy-to-consume modules. But this isn't what you finally upload on the server. What goes online instead is a compacted and minimal bundle of files that are optimized for the browser, consuming minimal round trips and bandwidth. This is where a module bundler comes into the picture. A module bundler is an essential weapon in a modern JavaScript developer's arsenal. In a nutshell, a module bundler at its very core scans through your files and creates bundles of code by combining together multiple files. This allows you to break down your code into modules during development. At the end of the process, the module bundler combines together multiple JavaScript files into compacted bundles, which you can then deploy on the server. We actually used a module bundler called Parcel in the last video, though we didn't do any major bundling there. A modern JavaScript development toolchain typically consists of a module bundler like Parcel or Webpack. These module bundlers also employ the services of the Babel compiler, which allows you to use cutting-edge and often unreleased JavaScript features in your apps. Along with Babel, several other add-on compilers may be used to compile style sheets and other files. You also get a hot reloading server, which allows you to develop your apps locally. We used such a feature in the last video, and you saw how saving a file reloads it automatically in the browser. Webpack is one of the most popular module bundlers and is used extensively by the JavaScript developer community. Webpack features easy configuration and offers an array of plugins that extend the base capabilities of the module bundler to compile all kinds of files, formats, and language specifications. When building React apps, you can choose to build your own toolchain using a module bundler of choice. For instance, the Parcel bundler can be used to set up a toolchain that lets you build modular React apps. Likewise, the NWB toolkit can be used to set up a toolchain for React apps. Webpack, on the other hand, is perhaps the most popular and a natural fit for building such a toolchain. But here's the fun bit. You don't have to spend a second in setting up a development and build toolchain for React apps. This is because Facebook provides the Create React App utility, which sets up a Webpack-based build pipeline that is ready for use. Sounds interesting? Let's check it out right away. The Create React App is a utility that bootstraps a React development toolchain for you. Under the hood, the toolchain uses Webpack and Babel to compile modular React code and comes with all the bells and whistles pre-configured, such as a hot reloading web server. What's even better is that Webpack, Babel, and their configuration is all tucked away and hidden from view. This means you can concentrate on your code instead of worrying about an exposed and a fragile toolchain. The utility allows you to bootstrap a React application quickly and provides integrated tools to work with APIs, run tests, and finally produce a production build that you can deploy on the server. To understand how it all works, let's use the utility to create a new React app structure, and we'll then recreate the reverse string app we made in the previous video. Here I'm in Microsoft VS Code, which is my preferred code editor for building virtually everything under the sun. I have the terminal open, and as we discussed in the previous video, I'm using Node 10.8.0, and I strongly recommend 10.x or a higher branch for this course. I'll begin by typing npx create-react-app followed by the name of the app folder, which should contain my code and the build system. npx is a package runner that comes with npm 5.2 and above. npm is great for running utilities like the Create React app, which otherwise would require a local installation but are typically used once in a while when you have to bootstrap a new React project. npx will automatically fetch the utility from the npm registry and will run it for you seamlessly. The Create React app downloads the core React library, the React DOM library, both of which we saw in the previous video. The utility also downloads the React scripts package, which is the magic box that sets up and runs our build pipeline, keeping all the mechanics tucked away and hidden from view. Under the hood, however, React scripts uses Webpack and Babel to make things work, but still manages to hide everything from plain sight. Now, once the installation completes, we'll go into the folder which the utility has created for us, and we'll run npm start. This kicks off our hot reloading development server, courtesy the React scripts package. Once up, you can open the URL that the server provides, and you get this in the browser. If we look at the file structure inside our Hello React folder, you can see the usual suspects, such as the package.json file, which, as you can see here, is bringing in React, React DOM, and the React scripts packages as dependencies. We also have the start, build, test, and eject scripts configured to use the React scripts module. So when we ran npm start, it kicked off the React scripts package, and that led us to the hot reloading server. But the real action is inside the src folder here. This is where your React app sits, and this is where you'll be spending almost all of your time developing the application. For now, you can see a bunch of files which result in the page that you see on the right. The index.js file here is the root file that Webpack picks and compiles all modules and dependencies to give you the compiled React app that is finally served in the browser. Unlike script tags in an HTML file, when working with a module bundler based workflow, you get to write modular code. You can therefore see the import statements here, which are based on the ES6 module syntax. These statements simply bring an external file into the scope of this file, and this way you can break down code into manageable fragments. For instance, if you observe the index.js file, we are bringing in React and React DOM besides the actual app code from a file named app.js. And we are ultimately running the same React DOM.render method we saw in the previous video. There are a couple of other things here which you can safely ignore for now. The app.js here contains the React component which ultimately renders on the page on the right. Once again, don't worry if this looks different from what you saw earlier. Now, while we are here, let's quickly edit this line and hit the save button. As you can see, our page refreshes automatically to reflect the changes. The Create React app is your ticket to building efficient and modular React apps. You saw how easy it is to get started with it. You don't even need to build an HTML file with script tags. Everything is taken care of by the build system. So while we're at it, let's quickly replicate the app we made in the previous video using our freshly created Hello React app. I have the hot reloading server up and running already. I'll begin by deleting all the files in the src folder. We'll build them from scratch. You can see our browser now displays an error because our root index.js file is missing. So let's create one in the src folder. But before that, download the style sheet for this project as an archive from this link. Once downloaded and extracted, I'll copy the CSS folder containing the style.css file into the src folder here like so. Now, let's create our index.js file. The first thing we'll do here is use an ES6 import statement to bring the React library into the file. It is important to note here that every component that you build using this workflow needs to have React imported in using this statement. Next, this root file needs to render our React app into a web page. Therefore, we'll also import the React DOM library like so. You can now use the render method from the React DOM library to render an h1 tag, for instance, into a div with the ID root. Hit save and you can now see our h1 tag on the page, thanks to our hot reloading server. This is also a great time to import our CSS file. using an import statement like so. You may find this a bit surprising and weird to be importing a style sheet into a JavaScript file. This is, however, a standard convention. What is interesting about this workflow is that during the final build phase, the module bundler system will package the style sheet into a CSS file with necessary link statements configured for you. This way, you don't have to run around and import statements into HTML files manually. You can also import style sheets that are specific to components directly in their JS files, and they will all be compiled into one style sheet automatically. Now let's come to the meat of this example. We'll build our app.js file which will contain our component. Once again, start by importing the React library in. I should mention again here that React needs to be in the namespace of every component module, and therefore must be imported in every single component file that you create. I've also imported the component class in from the React module. This means that I can now create a class component with the name myApp, and this extends the component class. Inside, we'll build our render method with a div with the ID app. Before building anything further, I'll export this class from this file and import it in to our index.js file like so. This means that I can now replace our h1 tag with an instance of our app component. And you can now see our div with the ID app render on the page. Back in the app.js file, we'll create our state variable named txt like so. Does this look a bit weird to you? We didn't create a constructor in this class and we are declaring the state directly as an object. We'll talk about this syntax in the next module where we deep dive into components. For now, enjoy writing this cleaner syntax. I'll now create a div with the class name top, which carries our input field, and we'll also build a sibling div with the class name bottom, which carries a span that simply renders the value of this.state.txt like so. Next, I'll add an event listener to the input field by using the onChange property, which will be set to a function that receives the event and uses this.setState to write the value of e.target.value to the txt state variable. At this point, you can type in the input field and see the text in the span below. All we have to do now is use split, reverse, and join like so, and you'll get a reversed copy of the string. And we are done. Contrary to the workflow in the last video, in this video, we bootstrapped a React project using the Create React app, which brings in the power of Babel and the Webpack module bundler besides several other optimization tools. The project workflow that this utility creates is designed for building modular React apps with ease, and it conveniently hides away the mechanics of the build workflow, letting you, the developer, focus on your code and the app. We also recreated the reverse string application using this workflow, and I'm sure you loved the ease and simplicity that a module bundler based workflow offers. Armed with this new knowledge, let's learn all about components in module 2.